My firing is
get into it. Let's get into it.
The whole fucking thing. Not just Dave Roberts, the whole franchise. Yep. From the top to the bottom. Bro, Eddie is so mad. To me, I think they're a fraud.
They are every year.
They're a fraud.
Every year.
That's a fraud. That's an illusion.
What is an illusion? Winning 100 games?
Yes.
That's not winning fucking 3 after that.
Exactly. You can't even win one. You can't
do Eddie. They're so irrelevant when October starts at this point.
I agree.
That it's ridiculous.
I agree.
So it's like, dude, you're a fraud. You win 100 games and you couldn't win 3. You couldn't win one. And it wasn't
swept.
And the thing is, look, like, fine.
You
game
better be fine the freaking Atlanta Braves right after this shit because they should have been swept too. And they won the most games in the
They won
MLB.
the most games by 4. They had a more difficult. By the way, just so you know, the Dodgers this year strength of schedule 28th. They had the 28th toughest schedule. You know how many teams there are? 30. 30. They were tied for actually 28th, 29th. Them and the Brewers. The easiest schedule in the league.
I believe it.
They won 7. They were 17-14 against the East. They were 18 and 15 against the Central, and 30-18 against the West. And they dominated interleague. Dude, they were. I told you they couldn't hit.
You just said that you just passed over and they dominated interleague. Really fast.
Well, because if you look at the interleague, they played the fucking Angels, and there's a bunch. And they played the Royals. I think they might have played the White Sox. Maybe even the Indians.
Yeah, you're right. They did.
So they played some garbage ass fucking teams. But when you look, so when you look, listen, I told you last week, they don't hit. They don't hit. The first game, you can blame it on Kershaw. He allowed whatever it was, 8 runs in the first inning. That's fine. That game is over. The next game, dude, the game was only 3-0. You scored 900 runs this year. Supposedly, and I told you that the offense has sucked. If you can't, you're down 3-0 in the second or third inning. You can't scrap together a run and a run and a run. No, you're losing games 4-2 or 4-0 or 3-0 because you can't hit.
But is that Dave Roberts' fault?
It's the whole organization's fault. Dave Roberts has been. I'm firing the whole thing, from top to bottom.
You can't fire top to bottom.
Of course I can. 100% top to bottom.
Yeah, he can.
In this fictional
I've been
scenario,
asking for Dave Roberts to be fired. I've been asking for. It's a fictional firing. I'm firing the whole fucking thing.
I mean, as a Dodger fan, any Dodger fan, how can you defend anything?
There's nothing you can defend.
How can you argue anything he's saying? Like against?
I'll tell you. Here's what I will defend. I think they have a great ownership group.
Well,
I think they have a very good GM. They draft well. Farm system.
Let me ask you something. They draft well. All those guys that played on that roster yesterday, how many did they draft?
Outland.
Woof. The guy hit 250. Outman. Give me something. An Outman.
Outman.
So they drafted Outman and Kershaw.
He has nice hair.
Kershaw.
Give me the rest of the roster.
Miller pitched.
Miller pitched. They drafted him. We're talking about 26 dudes.
Catcher, Fresh Prince from inside the organization.
Will Smith. Yeah. Did they draft Austin Barnes? So he's in the 25?
Yes.
So that's it. Guess who you drafted is not on the team. And he's crushing it. And you didn't want to pay him. Corey Seager.
Yeah.
Because you didn't want to pay him. So I don't care how good their farm system is.
That's horrible.
I don't care how good your farm system is when none of those guys are on your team producing right now. Your 2 best players you signed and traded for.
Corey Seager at the time,
he won the World Series MVP.
I know, but
granted, it was a 60-game season, and we know that's why they won.
3 years prior, he could not stay healthy.
He couldn't stay healthy 3 years prior.
Yeah.
That's 3 years prior to that.
In a row.
Okay.
In a row.
And then he came out and wins the World Series MVP.
Yeah.
Gets huge money because you didn't want to pay him.
Yes.
Typical Dodger fashion.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't want to pay. Because they spend a shitload of money on middle of the pack pieces. Max Muncy.
Yeah.
Career minor leaguer. Comes to Dodger Stadium. The guy had 200. Oh, he had 35 home runs, 100 RBIs. He had 200. Yep. He showed you in the playoffs. They showed you in the playoffs, and you said it like 3 times this year. Michael Brown says that baseball is blah, blah, blah averages, and teams catch up to what they are. And you specifically said the Diamondbacks are going to get back to what they were. The Diamondbacks put their nuts in the Dodgers' mouth.
Yeah.
And they jiggled them all up in it. The Dodgers, you know what? You're right. They did get back to what they were. A team who couldn't hit for shit. And that's what they ended up being.
I can't argue that.
Kershaw, it was one game. The rest of the games you were in it. You're down 3-0. You're 3-0 in the second, third, fourth inning. The game's over for you?
Yep.
That's it? You quit?
Let me ask you this. Is Kershaw a Dodger next year?
No, please, God.
Kershaw should retire. But, bro, he had a decent season.
Yeah.
He actually had a decent season.
He's been this bad in the playoffs this last year, and in his fifth year, in his sixth year, in his seventh year. Always. It's always been that.
Every year.
Exactly.
So it's not a shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a shock.
It's not a shock. I'm ready. Listen, I love you, Kershaw. You're one of the best Dodgers to ever live, maybe second best pitcher ever in the organization. But it's time to part ways. Let him go to Texas. He'll probably win one over there in Texas. Let him go home.
Probably
with the Rangers. I don't think. Listen, someone's going to throw $33 million.
No way anybody's doing that.
You don't think so?
No way.
Because here's the thing with him. Here's the thing with Kershaw is that he's a true pro. He shows young guys how to prepare. He's a great guy in the dressing room, the locker room. What do they call it in baseball?
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. He's a clubhouse guy. He's a leader. He's morally a great person, but he also shows guys how to be a pro and how to be a professional.
Yeah, but nobody's going to give him $30 million to do that. There's no way.
What do you think Texas gives him? 25?
No. 10, 12 million on the minimum.
The janitors make that much in the MLB. Are you shitting me?
Dude, he's not making that amount of money. And he might just retire.
Ah, man. I hope he does. I don't think he will. Because he's very what's the word? Philanthropic. Cut that shit out. Philanthropic. So he's not, he does a lot for a lot of people. So he does good with all the money that he has. So why wouldn't he, again, go Texas and pitch?
I don't know.
The Astros won't take him, but the Texans would.
Probably.
Yeah.
The Rangers might take him.
Some baseball talk in the chat. P-Tap goes, sorry, Eddie. Dodgers won't win again in your lifetime.
I believe that.
And then Felipe says, I wanted the Ohtani trade at Dodgers and World Series so I could see both you guys in uniform.
Oh, we wanted that so bad.
Listen, if the Dodgers make any World Series from here on out, I'll go to the game in a fucking full-blown uniform.
Mark that, Felipe. Mark
that. It down.
Catcher gear.
Bro, Papa, at this rate, with that garbage-ass manager, in 2016, I wanted him fired. In 2017, I literally called the Dodger hotline, Game 7, right after it was over. They had to cut me off because I was like, fuck him, blah, blah, blah.
You called the hotline?
The Dodger talk.
So, listen, let's let it flow.
Dude, I'm older than you.
We're talking baseball, right? There's a ton of talk. I listened to all the interviews. Everyone's trying to make excuses. I'm asking, is it a valid excuse? I don't think for the Dodgers. For the record, I didn't think the Dodgers would be that good this year. I think they overachieved this year with injuries and so forth. Yeah. Okay? So, that being said, 3 teams with over 100 wins. Orioles, Dodgers, Braves. Braves were an RCH of being swept. Is the format broken?
No. The format's not broken. That's just a fucking excuse. At the end of the day, you change the format so other teams can get in. Right? That's what you did. So now, all of a sudden, the teams with the best records, which I told you last week, the Orioles weren't going to win that series. They weren't even close. That roster was one of those things. They got hot, this and that. That's it.
That's a young, great roster.
Next year, they won't even be in the fucking playoffs.
Oh,
I book it. Book that.
Mark that shit.
Clip it, smack it, rub it down.
Oh, no.
The Orioles will not be in the playoffs next year.
Okay.
Book that. So, to me, they're trying to make an excuse because the 3 teams that had the best record, the most wins, whatever, didn't win a game. Or
they won 1 game.
They won 1 game between them. And Tampa Bay,
that was the Braves lucky.
And
Tampa Bay went 0-2.
And they went 0-2.
And they were the hottest team.
And what's their excuse? They won 99 games.
But here's my point, Rafa. Listen, and I heard this today, that the baseball regular season was a sacred thing. 162 games. You get the best. You can't fake being the best at 162 tries. You are who you are. You eventually are who you are in the averages. Baseball's about averages, right?